Hello and welcome to the Just Interesting podcast. I believe this is episode 38 out of 150.
Of the Just Interesting saga.
God, there we go. 150, that'll be the end of the podcast. No, of course I'm joking. Welcome and thank you for joining us, whether you're listening to us on one of the many audio platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast platform of your choice, or whether you're watching us on YouTube. Welcome and thank you. And today we have a special treat for you because it's good news. Hey, it's 2020 and we're talking about good news. We're going to be discussing the latest development, the bombshell announcement that there is a vaccine possibly likely to be ready. Yes, in the very near future. But as with all these things, we're skeptical folks, we're cynical folks, we have questions. So we thought we'd have a look into the details about this vaccine announcement that has happened in the month of November 2020 and compare it to what we know so far and whether or not, we can actually put our faith in this thing. So, just in case you're feeling happy about it, we're here to bring you down. And,
no, we're here to hear your concerns and relieve you of them. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Take a load off,
unless
Annie.
we come to a different conclusion, but
Put the load on
we
to
probably won't. So.
But after that, we'll be doing a very light-hearted quiz, which I've written to see if Martin or Alex is the brain box of the week. Before all that, we'll be looking at your comments, obviously our favourite comments from you during the week. And before all that, we'll be discussing what we learned this week. But before we get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to this week's sponsor, because this week's podcast is brought to you by NordVPN.
I had a feeling it might be them.
Really? How did you know? It's like this was one and before. I mean, any of our regular listeners will know that we love NordVPN and we thoroughly recommend them. And in fact, we're thoroughly recommending them to you again because they are an excellent, not just security service to have for your computer, for your internet browsing habits. I was going to say habituary, but that's not even a word. Whatever your internet browsing habits, you can use NordVPN either for your own security or for your own anonymity or just for your own convenience, because VPNs are great for looking at newspaper articles in countries that are not your own, because lots of people have stupid geo-blocks on. They're not just newspaper articles. There's also all kinds of streaming services. I can go onto YouTube, right? YouTube, which is open and free to the entire world, and there are videos that I cannot watch. And in fact, there's a satire show called Spitting Image, which started recently. It's puppets, and it's British, and the British Spitting Image show is not available on YouTube in Britain. You have to. There's geo-blocks, and that's kind of silly stuff.
It is.
So, yeah, NordVPN. It's a great service, and we've got a great offer for you because, of course, it's Black Friday month.
It's when everyone used to go into the shops and bundle over each other to try and get the deals that weren't actually deals because they'd upped the price and then lowered it again for the deal. Yeah, that's the one. Although I guess that's the one good thing about social distancing is that you won't get that this year.
Rather than catching COVID-19, you can go onto the internet and get some fantastic deals online, especially when it comes to Cyber Monday. And NordVPN have a fantastic deal for you if you just go to nordvpn.com/justinteresting. That's JUSTINTERS fart.
The name of the channel.
The name of the channel. I missed out an E.
Look under the video. All one word.
Click the link in the description if you're watching us on YouTube, or go to nordvpn.com/JUSTINTERESTING. Got it right this time. Yay! Go there and you will get 68% off a 2-year plan and 1 month free and a 30-day money-back guarantee if you don't like it. So why not give it a try? But because it's special Cyber Monday deal time, not only do you get 1 month extra free, and not only do you get 68% off a 2-year deal, you get a surprise gift. What is the surprise gift? We don't know.
Is it a PlayStation 5, Robin?
Oh, that would be amazing.
We don't have any news about the surprise gift.
I actually don't know what it is. Yeah,
I love a lucky dip. Yeah.
It could be a PlayStation 5. It might not be.
It could be your heart's desire.
It could be.
It could be a 2B pencil as well. I
Lamborghini.
mean, they haven't specified.
So yeah, check out nordvpn.com. If you're still in doubt about it, don't worry. There's that 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can just give it a go. Thoroughly recommend it. It's great not only for your own protection, but also for your own convenience, for browsing the internet in anonymity and to get around all those inconvenient geo-blocks.
Yeah.
So
for those newspaper articles that I read from different countries, definitely 100%. Not about the YouTube Netflix thing.
Nothing to do with Netflix, yeah, or any of those other streaming services.
I just use it for the articles.
Well, having said that, Today I was on
Yeah.
I was on NordVPN, or was using NordVPN, and I was on an American server, and I went on without knowing. I went on the BBC News, and it's completely different. It was rubbish. So if you're in America and want BBC News, then use NordVPN and go to the UK, and you'll get the proper BBC experience.
That's great, actually. That's also sad. I'm saddened that the BBC website in America is different in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
So, Martin, whilst you were browsing BBC America, what did you learn this week?
So this week I learned, about imagination. Intrigued?
Okay.
I'll tell you more. So, so you guys, can you think of yourself on a ski slope right now, skiing?
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
What type of slope is that?
It's a really steep black run with moguls on it, so like bumps, and you're flying down there really quickly. Can you imagine that?
I don't like to, but
feeling
sure.
a bit kind of vertiginous doing it.
You don't want to, but you can, right? It's something you can do.
Yeah.
Just like you can imagine being in the Amazon rainforest, which is if you go onto our Patreon exclusive episode, we talk about it being cut down. Can you imagine being in an Amazon rainforest? Can you imagine being on a sunny beach on holiday? Can you imagine all of these things?
Yeah.
At the same time, I think so. Yeah.
Because approximately 1 to 3% of the world's population have a condition called aphantasia, which means you can't see anything in your imagination. You can't imagine being on that ski slope. Your brain cannot imagine doing things. Which it blows my mind. But of course, if it's 1 to 3%, there will be people in the Just Interesting audience right now who are thinking, I can't think of being on a ski slope or skiing. What do you mean imagining it?
Yeah.
Well, that is an actual condition that affects a lot of people. 1 to 3%.
That blows my mind. Wow.
Yeah.
So how do they... I have two questions. When these people fail to imagine something, what are they seeing inside their heads? And then secondly, how do we define successfully imagining something? Because...
I mean, these questions are ridiculous, Robin. I mean, you're talking to someone who's who's not a scientist studying this. But
this was BBC America, Robin.
It was actually livescience.com. But it does make me want to open this up to the audience, though. Like, guys at home, if you're somebody who has this, what do you see? Do you just not see anything, or do you think about I don't know, an image of someone else? I don't know. I'm not sure. I genuinely don't know. It baffles me to think about this.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it's like to have no imagination.
I wonder if it helps them or hurts them when they're trying to sleep. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when you're laying in bed, you're trying to fall asleep, and you need to, like, I don't know, relax. You imagine like yourself laying on a beach or something to relax, or you come up. But then on the flip side is you think about like the most embarrassing things you've ever done in your entire life, and you visualize yourself reliving that. So I wonder what happens to these people in that situation.
Yeah, when you go to bed, can you count sheep, or is it do they not appear in your mind? Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah,
good questions.
I mean, I think that this particular disorder, as it were, it's a scale. Like, some people can imagine things incredibly vividly, and other people have like a vague, fuzzy imagination of something happening, and then other people can't imagine anything at all, which is also interesting. It kind of makes me think about when you discuss colours, and I mean, there's the old question of is the colour yellow that I see the same as the colour yellow that you see? It's almost like, are we seeing different variations or different kind of almost resolutions of the same thing in our minds?
I often wonder, like you just asked, great examples of, can you imagine yourself on the beach? Can you imagine yourself skiing? And I always think, I've never been skiing, and I've never been to a particularly sunny beach. I live in Britain. I've never been to a beach outside Britain. They're not particularly sunny or sandy. But I know what those things look like because I've seen pictures, because I've seen documentaries, because I've seen films in particular. If I hadn't seen those things, I wouldn't know what anyone was talking about. So actually, am I imagining what those things look like, or am I just remembering the pictures I've seen?
Yes.
I often
but
wonder
do you
that.
imagine yourself like walking on the beach though? Can you do that? And like feeling the sand on your feet?
But again, it's more like a memory for me. So I don't know Well, I don't know where imagination stops and just
memory
adapted memory begins.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem that people who do suffer from aphantasia, they see things more as lists of things happening as opposed to actual images.
Oh, that's bizarre!
Wow. Yeah. Again, if there's anyone out there that can relate to this, please let me know. Or if we got it wrong, it's not a list. It's more of a diary.
That was far too interesting, Martin.
Yeah. John Lennon's Imagine is lost on them.
Well, mine's quite different. I learned a fact about the Reagan assassination attempt.
Oh yeah,
and something rather unnerving that happened around that time. So basically, after that assassination attempt, he was rushed off, and there was a lot of confusion after that assassination attempt by Reagan's administration, and his top aides didn't have the football, which is
the nuclear thing,
the nuclear launch codes, and they didn't know where they were. The vice president was unavailable. No one knew what to do, and whilst this was going on, in this immediate aftermath after the assassination attempt, a Soviet submarine was apparently moving closer to the US, more close than usual. And this was becoming, this was tapes that were released from that time revealed that they were getting quite concerned about this, as they were trying to search for this football.
My goodness. So,
yeah.
I mean, are you saying that there could be a connection between the assassination and Russia, or are you saying that literally the president was just, of course, out of action, and so it caused an absolute...
I would more suspect it to be that more
coincidental.
Than anything. Like, this has happened in America, this monumental occurrence, like there was an attempted assassination. Like the Soviet Union at that point are just like, poke them when they're down. Just try and provoke them. I think it's more to do with that than any kind of, did they have anything to do with it? And they were hoping to, get the football and then go to trigger World War III. But it's interesting though. Just how vulnerable even the world's superpower can be, and just get confused and lose the most valuable weapon in their arsenal.
That's crazy, that is, yeah. There's a pretty good TV movie from 2001, I think, called The Day Reagan Was Shot, with Richard Dreyfuss, however you say his name. And that was, I think, produced by Oliver Stone. It takes a kind of satirical look at the confusion and the madness of the day, and I remember being pretty good. So I recommend that to anybody who can find it. The Day Reagan Was Shot. Yeah.
Cool.
And there's some pretty crazy stuff that happens in that film, and you're like, I can't believe that. So, yeah.
And that's a good recommendation. But yeah, that's what I learned this week. I'm trying to find out how long it took them to find the football, but this article doesn't seem to say. BBC article. So there you go. Should have used NordVPN. See what it was like on the American version. Might be more detailed then.
Mine, I was actually using NordVPN to look at the Los Angeles Times, and I came across an article from 2019, actually, which was looking at something they're doing in Japan to help with their aging population problem. And I thought this statistic alone was quite interesting, which is that apart from Japan's population being shrinking, they're also aging faster than most other places in the world, and over a quarter of Japan's population is already over 65 years old, and is projected to get to about 40% of the population by 2050, compared to America, where 16% of the population is currently over 65, and that's quite a discrepancy. But unlike most other countries, in Japan, they've got a growing solution to the problems of caring for the elderly, which is robots.
Of course.
I suspect, of course, it's robots.
And they've like massive industry that's just taking off and growing, and they're building, two things are happening there. They're building exoskeletons to help carers, so that care workers can do a lot more physically helping people because they've got the exoskeletons giving them extra strength. Yeah.
I've been not adding that in like a dementia ward or something. Like people be freaking out.
Yeah, they might be.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, but they've also got really quite realistic looking robot pets and 4-foot tall humanoid robots to be little helpers and companions, particularly for patients with memory problems and developing dementia and things like that. So they have these little helpers that can keep them company and help keep them calm and happy. And it's just fantastic, and the industry is projected to like double, I think, in the next few years. But the twist in the tale is that one of the leading companies building all these robots to little robot companions and these exoskeletons is, and I kid you not, Cyberdyne Incorporated, as in the Terminator.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was just,
Wow.
I was like, no irony in that at all.
Wow.
You think
I
they'd
mean-
just do a quick Google, wouldn't you, before they decide?
I'm just waiting for Sky to start like Skynet.
Yeah, it'll happen.
I'm sure. I imagine they've got it probably patented somewhere, haven't they?
Yeah.
You'd
It's
expect so.
It's quite comforting thinking like if we are lucky enough to get old and don't die in World War III or climate disasters or anything, then robot technology is just going to make retiring lovely, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah.
Going to be taken
Unless it turns
well good
against
care
us.
of by Terminators.
Yeah.
It will be like iRobot, where everyone's got a robot slave essentially, and then they'll turn on you. The hive mind.
Yeah. What was the game where there was like Detroit, wasn't it? Detroit Become Human. That was a kind of looking
need to
at
play
the line between humanity and robots in the future. That's a kind of interesting game.
Yeah, I'd like to play that.
Yeah, I've never played it, but yeah.
It's quite long for like decision making kind of game. It's quite long for one of those, but it has lots of different options, and yeah, it's all right. It's not bad.
There you go, a ringing endorsement.
It was quite good. I think some people loved it. I'm sure there'll be a few people in the comments who absolutely love that game. I thought it was quite good.
Sound off, let us know. And speaking of your comments, shall we look at our comments of the week?
Yeah,
absolutely. So I've got a really nice comment from Arandi Becerra, who just commented on our podcast last week saying, God, finally, I just realized how much I missed these guys, which was just so nice. And sorry that there was a little bit of a longer gap between these podcasts. It was just kind of having Richard on as a guest and just some of the logistics surrounding that, really. But yeah.
Our Patreon supporters know where we really were, don't they?
What do we say?
We told them we were in Wisconsin.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we were in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Casting 5,000.
Those elections don't rig themselves, kids.
I forgot about us being in Wisconsin. Yeah. So there's a couple of comments that I would like to address, and one's from Willa Wolf, and Willa Wolf says, this is in relation to last week's podcast and about the tradition of leaving milk and cookies for Santa. And Willa Wolf says, you guys leave carrots for the reindeer. That's so sweet and pretty cool. And that made me think, so Willa Wolf, I'm not sure where you're from.
Yeah.
But it seems like you don't leave carrots for reindeers for Rudolph and his pals. Yeah. So I'd be interested to know what you leave on Christmas Eve. And there was another one of that. I can't remember who was it from. But anyway, this other comment said, you leave oranges. Or oranges in the stocking. Why do you do that? And it's just basically a tradition in the UK. And that also made me think like, it'd be interesting to know what other people's Christmas traditions are native to their country. That'd be really interesting to know. But apparently reindeers can't actually eat carrots. They're really actually quite bad for them and they don't like them. So yeah, we leave them. And so if they've been eaten, we're probably going to have a sick reindeer. So it's worth noting.
The amount of Rudolph's got a really upset stomach.
Oh dear, that's quite
after all the carrots that we give them.
Please let us know in the comments below on YouTube or on whatever podcast platform you have, or on Twitter at JInterestingYT. Let us know what you do for your Christmas Eve traditions.
We're a bit early, but
Yeah, well, it's the season.
We'll keep it going for the next 6 weeks or so.
Yeah. So last week's video was, as Alex mentioned, with a guest. We had our friend Richard on to talk about Jack the Ripper, and particularly his victims. That was the focus of last week's episode. So please do check that out. It was wonderful to have Richard on. We're very grateful to him. But my comment is actually from a podcast we did a few weeks ago from James Van Winkle, who commented on our podcast about the Freemasons. And he said, "Guys, this was awesome. Working late by myself in the garage here in Knoxville, and had a blast listening in." So thank you. That was really nice.
That's really kind.
That's really nice.
And it reminded me, we asked this a few months ago, and we kind of kept it going with and left it to dry, which is, what do you do when you're listening to this podcast? We'd really like to know what circumstances you listen to us. We know that some of you like to put us on so we bore you to sleep, and that's absolutely fine. But if others of you, what do you get up to when you're listening to us? So please keep chiming in, let us know what you do. And if it's unsavory, keep it private.
It's unsavory. Yeah, I mean, I tend to listen to podcasts when I'm doing the washing up, and it used to be when I was commuting to work. But there's no commuting going on, so the opportunities for podcasts is reduced.
30-second podcasts between the bedroom and the bathroom these days.
Exactly, yeah.
I wonder, I know there's quite a few people that have said that they listen to us so they can fall asleep. I wonder if we can get into that market, do like a lullaby falling asleep one. Yeah. You're falling into a deep slumber.
It's a bit sinister.
And then
bit sinister when you get there.
But we still make it like conspiracy and mystery, so it's like you're falling into a deep slumber, into the deep state slumber.
You're falling into a deeper web
of lies. Yeah. And just
the deep web.
And whilst you sleep, your wife will cut off your penis.
Oh yes, yeah. And castrate you as well using a sheep castrator.
That was a welcome break last week. We had one guest. We had a guest on and castration didn't come up once.
I know. I felt a bit bad. But,
you felt bad it didn't come up?
Only afterwards, because it didn't cross my mind at the time, and I thought, could have brought in some castration there.
Jack the Ripper.
It was probably inappropriate, but here we are. By the end of season 2, it'll be over. It'll come full circle, and it'll all be wrapped up and tied off with a nice little bow. Which leads me nicely into the meat of today's podcast, the main topic, which is the bombshell announcement that Pfizer and BioNTech, which are both pharmaceutical companies, in case you haven't heard of them, have developed a vaccine for COVID-19, which is, I think they said, 90% effective, according to tests. And I think the tests are in phase 3, is that correct? Which means that they're testing them on humans. So each vaccine that's ever developed has, clinical development has 3 phases, and those are phase 1, small groups of people receive the trial vaccine, and then in phase 2, they expand the group of people to be larger, and they give it to people who have characteristics resembling the symptoms of the thing they want to vaccinate against. So the first phase is about testing whether or not it's safe. Second phase is testing whether or not it's effective. And then phase 3, it's given to thousands of people to test for both efficacy and safety. And any vaccine test involves giving some people placebos and some people the actual vaccine, and the placebo people are obviously a control group to see whether or not the effects on those people are statistically significant compared to the effects of the vaccine. Some vaccines undergo a 4th phase test, but that only happens after a vaccine has been licensed and approved for manufacturing and commercial selling to everybody else. So, what are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Might be the best news of 2020 so far.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you.
Like, I think Anthony Fauci, it is Anthony, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the US. Didn't he say that if we get a vaccine that's about 50% effective, that'll be like a good amount of damage prevention of what like coronavirus can do, and will like really help with cases. And this apparently is 90% effective,
which is shocking.
So I guess now the question will be, like, how long does immunity last? is it still going to be effective with like possibly other strains of the virus like mutating? I know that Denmark's quite worried at the moment with the mutations that have happened in their mink farms, and yeah, just the distribution of the virus. Will enough people even accept the virus? How many anti-vaxxers are? Yeah. How many anti-vaxxers are there? Because that'll be the ultimate like kick in the teeth, wouldn't it, for these scientists?
Because there was a study just 2 weeks ago, I think, before the US election, where they had studied cases of people who contracted the virus at the beginning of the year and followed them through up until that point. So that's late October. And I think the study suggested that, is it fewer than 6% of people who get the virus actually keep the antibodies 6 months after contracting it? So it's a really small percentage of people who are naturally exposed to the virus. Their antibodies stay in their system, which means that they're at risk of getting the virus again. So the question is, will the vaccine have a long-term effect? And that's what they haven't tested yet. It
is a big question. I mean, back to the whole anti-vaxxers thing. I think you've definitely got people that there are anti-vaxxers and that don't want to have any kind of vaccine. But you also have a lot of people that will be skeptical just because of the time frame that this has been pushed through and the urgency. But I think we've got to remember that although this has been pushed through very quickly, it's had, the resources that have been put into this is so much vaster than anything else. Like this hasn't been in our lifetimes anything that's an equivalent to kind of the scientific resources that's been put in such a small time frame. So I think there's cautious optimism. Well, I'm certainly cautiously optimistic that hopefully this will prove to be as effective as they say they are, and hopefully, I mean, they've tested 39,000 people, I think, with this, and so of course we don't know the longer term effects yet of this, but from what they have so far, it seems like that that any negative side effects are either very minimal or of statistical insignificance so far. We'll see if that changes. It is subject to change. And I know they also haven't tested it on much older age groups, have they? Or young, or very young people. Yeah. So, of course, they're mainly testing it on a kind of a spectrum of what you class as, I guess, healthy people.
Yeah. Healthy adults in particular.
Yeah, exactly. Healthy adults. So we shall see. But, I mean, man, this is the news that everyone was hoping for, wasn't it, for 2020, despite all the other crap that's gone on.
Yeah. And I think a certain president tweeted about this vaccine and saying, look, I told you there'd be a vaccine done very soon, which he did. But the implication of what he declared before, which is that a vaccine will be available very soon, is not the same as they've made a vaccine that is effective very soon, because of course it's going to be months and months and months before they can manufacture this on a scale that is necessary to treat people. And I think there's also one of the reasons this might be so effective is because it doesn't work like a regular vaccine, does it? No. They've said it works in a peculiar way.
Yeah, it uses genetic code rather than any part of the virus itself, apparently. So it uses genetic engineering to harness cells that produce pieces of virus that are recognized by the immune system.
Right.
So I think a normal vaccine, again, there are going to be scientists in the comments that are going to cringe horribly at what I'm about to say. But am I right in thinking that they inject a little bit of the virus into you, layman's terms, and then enough that your body, the antibodies can like fight it off, and then they recognize that and they get the antibodies from it.
Yeah,
and so you're able to fight it off.
Small piece of the messenger RNA from the SARS-CoV-2 virus, so it's not the whole virus itself, just a little bit, to kind of trigger that immune response and build up some immunity from it. I think one of the things that has been a bit of an issue so far is them not necessarily knowing whether this just alleviates symptoms of COVID-19 and stops people from getting ill, or whether it actually stops people from spreading it, because there's a huge difference with that. If it's just stopping the symptoms, then it's not going to be anywhere near as effective, because of course, if anything, that just puts more vulnerable people who maybe can't have the vaccine for whatever reason at risk, because not only are they not able to get the vaccine themselves to be protected, but they also are surrounded by people who are super spreaders who aren't even symptomatic.
Yeah.
So for people that are vulnerable, it could have the opposite effect of a miracle cure if it turns out that it's just alleviates symptoms.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, thankfully, this isn't the only vaccine that's currently in development. I think there are 11 or 12 others that are also in the phase 3 trials. This is just the first one that's come back with results from phase 3. So, I mean, this is really good news that this is the first one that's come back with the results and they're this positive. So, I mean, hopefully there'll be a lot of other potential options, because I think there's some issues with this regarding mass production and getting it to places. Like, for instance, the vaccine itself has to be stored at minus 70 degrees Celsius. So obviously,
just put it in your fridge. It's fine. Yeah,
pop it in your fridge. When you're talking about vaccinating billions of people over the next year, that's a huge undertaking just logistically. How do you keep it that cold?
You're going to have to get vaccination centres, and people are going to have to come to the centre to be vaccinated, which they would do something similar anyway, but it's going to be a lot harder to set one of those up in a car park, for example, having to keep it that cold.
Or in a remote part. I remember a few weeks ago we spoke about, or I brought to the table about the logistics of voting in India in their elections, and people carrying the electronic ballot boxes over miles and miles of inhabitable terrain to get to these remote villages. You think about that, but with a freezer that has to be kept at minus 70 degrees odd. It's just, I mean, quite frankly, at least in the short term, that just will not happen, will it?
Yeah.
So you will have big swathes of people. You will definitely see this divide in terms of class, I guess, in terms of material wealth of GDP in the countries who are getting it and those who aren't. I think you will naturally see, unfortunately.
Just to go back to something Alex mentioned about how many vaccines there are in development, if you go to a website called raps.org, they actually are keeping track of the development and the progress of COVID-19 vaccines. And according to them, there are currently 51 in development around the world.
Wow.
Yeah. But we should mention, actually, no, we probably shouldn't mention, but I'm going to mention it anyway. I think it was on the 11th of August, let's not forget that the Russians announced they had a vaccine and the government approved a vaccine for, what's the word I'm looking for? Mass production, I think. But there are understandably huge questions about how effective this vaccine is and how safe this vaccine is and how safe the trials were that were conducted to do this. And I just feel like let's not be biased. Let's acknowledge the fact that the Russians officially have a vaccine, but no one knows how well it works or if it's even safe.
It's weird. I haven't heard much about that since.
Well, today there was news today about it being relatively successful, and they've announced that it has a 92% effective rate.
There you go.
It's the space race all over again.
Yeah.
So we will see. Of course, I guess it's easy to be skeptical, and they pushed it through, as you say, way back when in the summer. So I mean, the turnaround for that was insane. So we'll see. But I mean, the more the merrier of these kind of things, as long as people aren't dying as a result of taking dodgy vaccines.
Yeah.
I think that aren't ready.
There's a friend of mine works actually. His job is that he develops treatments and vaccines for diseases.
Wow.
And at the beginning of the whole pandemic, I remember asking him about the vaccine and said, what are the chances of a vaccine? And he explained to me all the scary possibilities and the probabilities of whether or not a vaccine could work. But the big thing he said was that it doesn't matter so much whether or not a vaccine can work. It's the production process, because each vaccine is created, it is custom made essentially, and there is no kind of one size fits all factory process for making vaccines or any kind of treatment like this. You essentially, each vaccine factory, so to speak, is custom built for the vaccine that's created. And like Alex has mentioned, this one in particular seems to have some very specific requirements in terms of its manufacture. And we haven't mentioned also that it requires 2 doses. It's 1 injection, and then I think 2 weeks later you can back and have a second injection, and both of those have to be kept at very low temperatures. So it's even if a vaccine is ready by the end of the year, he was telling me back at the beginning of this year, he said it could be another year before they have the factory set up to mass produce the vaccines, because it takes so many specific things to do it. And he said, it's one of the misconceptions that's presented by the fact that we have the flu vaccine every year. The reason we can have the flu vaccine every year, and the fact that the flu vaccine is made every single year, is because the flu is the flu, and there's the relatively small differences between the variants of the flu. So you can use the same process to develop a vaccine for the flu every year. You just change, the specifics to combat whichever strain of the flu you're trying to vaccinate against. So it's relatively easy to create new vaccines for the flu every year because the infrastructure is already in place. But for something like COVID-19, which, let's remember, is a novel virus, they just don't have the infrastructure yet. So even if this company, Pfizer and BioNTech, which are big companies, are able to set up the manufacturing process relatively quickly, they're not going to be able to set it up quickly in countries all around the world. They're going to set it up as quickly as they can in one country, and then as best as they can, they'll try to recreate that scenario in other countries. So when you think about treating the entire world, it's probably going to rely on many vaccines from many different companies, from many different countries being developed simultaneously, which is what they're currently doing. But we can only hope that they're all just as effective, because, the tragedy would be if, for example, Pfizer, who are based in Britain, I think, if they develop a really effective vaccine and in Africa they have a really ineffective vaccine, and their population is still devastated by COVID-19.
I mean, another worry is that, so Pfizer have said that they're hoping to globally supply 50 million vaccines by the end of this year, which is obviously, a month and a bit. Yeah. Only it's huge, but it's only for like the next month or so. But then in 2021, manufacture 1.3 billion doses. So I mean, that's huge, exponentially massive in terms of increasing their production. And if 1.3 billion doses of the vaccine can be distributed to the neediest across the world, that'll take a sizable chunk of, or help with COVID sizably. I guess the worry is that, if it is only coming from the UK or the US, these vaccines, governments are going to have to pay for these vaccines for their population, and it's just, you're relying on governments. I don't know. Yeah, not everyone it's not going to be equally distributed is the worry, I guess. It's
a tricky situation, isn't it? Because I think it's perfectly reasonable to have a protectionist approach to this kind of situation. Say, look, I can save my people. I'm a government working for the people of my country. My responsibility is to get them safe. And then you inevitably let the rest of the world suffer as a result, right?
It's true. I mean, we saw the same thing with buying up a lot of the PPE, didn't we? These huge contracts going to the US, especially. I mean, Donald Trump, he got a hold of a lot of PPE that was where was it? Was it made in Canada? Is that right? I can't remember the exact story. Right. There's a lot of PPE that he snapped up.
We sent him those as well, didn't we?
At the expense of other countries. So yeah, you do just get this, don't you? And it's the way it will happen again. Those who have the money to spend on it will do so. Often they'll spend a lot more than even if they're going into huge amounts of debt. They know that the economic impact of a country, a Western European country or America, will be much greater if they don't do this than if they do. Yeah. So it comes down to money, doesn't it? Always. So we shall see. But hopefully there'll be some initiatives, as there are with other vaccines, to help other countries who desperately need it too.
Do you think we're likely to see a situation like the flu, where we have an annual vaccine for COVID?
I wouldn't be surprised, especially for the most vulnerable. Yeah. It seems like this is the murmurings that I'm hearing are that could well be the case. As I say, the most vulnerable in society may well need that kind of booster. We'll see. I don't actually know. I don't know enough about the in and outs and the difference between the flu, about how the formation of the novel coronavirus versus flu, to know exactly if you would need it every year, if it would mutate slightly every year. I don't necessarily know. But yeah, we'll see. I don't think they necessarily know either, do they?
That's the other concern, isn't it? Like with there are different strains at the moment of the coronavirus that have been found in like mink farms in Denmark. I think 200 people were infected with a different strain of coronavirus that was mutated in a mink farm. And then as a result of that, Denmark decided to cull their entire population of mink, which is like a huge part of their industry. I think they're the largest exporter of mink fur.
Was it like in Europe. 10, was it 8 million, something like that?
So I think 17 million.
17 million.
Wow. I think they've paused it now because I think maybe they thought actually this is yeah. But I mean, is that something that we need to look at as a society? I mean, I think it is. But like
we're killing minks.
Well, like how we're treating animals, like these pandemics, coronavirus, bird flu, swine flu, they all come from keeping animals indoors in horrible situations. Is this something that, are they going to become more and more regular in the future unless we change how we're treating animals and farming animals and getting our produce?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, we look at where this coronavirus supposedly originated in Wuhan, in the wet markets, and you've got to think that if that's the case, as it seems like it was quite likely to have been, it was a direct result of humans messing about with animals, not treating them right, storing them really ineffectively, and as you say, in cramped, crowded conditions where bacteria and the virus can spread, it can develop and spread. So yeah, 100%, man. Something that's got to be looked at, because it seems like this is only going to happen more and more.
Yeah,
like swine flu, bird flu, coronaviruses. Yeah,
and it was predicted by scientists. Well, it's always been predicted by scientists because they forecast these things, they put models in place. But back in the noughties, they said before swine flu happened, and then they reiterated it after swine flu happened. They said this is only going to happen more and more because, in particular, of humans encroaching on natural habitats and deforestation related to our Patreon discussion, actually. The bigger our urban centres get and the more that we encroach upon and destroy natural habitats, is not just about the tragedy of destroying those ecosystems. It's about introducing those wild animals into close contact with humans in our own environment. And it's the classic thing about, the Native Americans dying more from disease from Western Europeans migrating over there than they did from violence. Or the science fiction cliche of, War of the Worlds, the Martians invade, and in the end, it's not weapons that save us, it's the bacteria, because they haven't adapted to our atmosphere, and they don't have the resilience to our diseases.
I've seen signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it came to a water planet.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That kind of thing is going to happen more and more because we are intermingling more and more with wild animals, and of course, particularly in certain parts of the world, there really are no proper systems in place to properly care for animals that we have domesticated. Once it's in farming, it's in the food chain, you're going to get it spreading very, very quickly. But overall, positive news.
Very positive. Yeah.
We've got a vaccine. Optimistic, even if we create our own problems by treating animals badly and by encroaching on their environment, we can find the solution.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's a chance. I don't want to get my hopes up, but there's a chance that next year, in terms of news, like global news, it could be pretty boring. And I'm excited about that. Can you imagine if this is all behind us, coronavirus, and there's less tweets and crazy news stories from the president's office, probably.
Brexit. Well, that's not going to be done for years, is it?
Brexit we'll still be hearing about, but I mean, it will have maybe the argument will be behind us, I guess.
They don't do funny news anymore, do they? It was used to be the main news, and then there was a little bit at the end that was like, good night. They don't do that anymore. It's just not done anymore. It's always just depressing. And they're like,
I'm optimistic though. Next year could be different. And then there's just this looming figure of climate change in the background. Ongoing. Another day, Alex. Another day. Too much.
Oh, dear. Oh, well then. Shall we cheer ourselves up with a quiz?
Always.
Woo! Well, hello and welcome to the quiz. This week, it's important now because we're getting towards the end of the season, and I think currently Martin has the lead. You've got it in the bag.
No, it's very slender lead. We're coming down to the wire, especially because I've got you guys have both got games in hand, so you've got more games to play left.
Well, if you win this one, though, Martin.
Last week with Richard obviously didn't count towards my win total, which I'm a bit resentful about, but it's fine.
Them the rules that we made up on the spot.
Yeah,
they are the rules.
The essential, immutable rules. So anyway, before we begin, gentlemen, play me your buzzers.
Well, as you may be able to guess from who's sitting behind me, I've got Awesome behind me, and he's going to be representing me today.
1, 2, take 2. The French champagne.
There you
go.
I've never actually noticed that both of our buzzers, Alex, are drunk people.
Let's be having you.
It sure is.
Oh dear.
Delia.
All right then.
It's a staple.
It's a necessary staple. And
she was in the news recently. She was because she wants to bring back get fans back in the stadiums.
Into the stadiums of football. Yeah. But, I mean, if she come a plea like this may well work.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Still a fan of Norwich all these years.
Yeah.
Well done.
I think she might even still be a shareholder, I don't know.
Oh wow. Okay.
She might be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, today's quiz, as always, is 10 general knowledge questions with an 11th bonus question, which we only ever use if there's a tie. We never do it normally. But you may be pleased to know that there's a fairly healthy dose of closest wins in this quiz.
I love it.
Not a huge amount, but there's a few. So heading straight in with question number 1. When did Leonardo da Vinci paint The Last Supper? And this is the
closest wins?
Closest wins.
God.
And a year rather than a century.
Thinking back to the right century. When did Leonardo da Vinci exist?
I mean, how good is your memory of Assassin's Creed games? That's the question.
Not very.
I've only ever played Black Flag, and I played for about 20 minutes. And
that was really good, though. That was a good game.
A NPC.
Yeah.
It just kept on saying the same line over and over again, so I turned it off.
It's always been celebrated for its excellence.
Yes, Alex.
Always going in.
I'm going to go for 38.
Okay. Martin, what's your guess?
I was thinking a tiny bit earlier. 1489.
You know what, Martin? You're very close. So Martin gets the point. It was 1495.
Ooh, okay.
So 1498 within that 3-year period. So well done, Martin. You're pretty
well
close.
done.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
That was pretty good. 1-0.
Genuinely, wasn't even aware of when he was born, so or how long he lived for. So
I had the privilege of seeing some Leonardo da Vinci's recently because the Queen Elizabeth II has a whole massive collection of his sketchbook and his drawings and notes.
Oh, they right.
And they displayed 6 of them, I think, in an exhibition last year. Little did I know that would be the last public event I would be going to. Go 1-0, going into question number 2. Put your TV hats on. Hawkins is the fictional town at the centre of which TV show? Alex.
Is that Stranger Things?
It is Stranger Things. Well
Sure
done.
is.
My favourite show about teenagers in the 80s on Netflix, beginning with the letters S and T in the title. Question number 3, and it's 1-1. In which country was the first PlayStation console released in November 1995?
Which country?
Where are you?
Yes, Martin.
Let's be having you!
Surely it's Japan.
No. Is
By poor my son.
Yep, Alex?
The US.
No.
Is it?
I shall. Oh, yeah.
Time zones. Could it have been Australia?
Australia is the correct answer.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's
Is
not
that why?
It's not to do with time zones, but timing is important. So the question was November 1995. It was released in Japan first in 1994. They got it a whole year before the rest of the world. Naturally,
I see.
because that's where Sony is based.
Okay, where was it
Yeah.
released first?
It was
In November.
in November 1995. The first PlayStation console was released in Australia. So well done. That's 2-1 going into question 4. Well done,
Oh
Martin.
gosh.
Geography question now. Lima is the capital city of which country? That was Martin.
Is it Peru?
It is Peru.
Martin's crushing it.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
I wouldn't have guessed Peru.
3-1.
Oh dear.
Question number 5. This is a tricky one, I confess. The collective noun for which animal is a bloom?
A balloon.
A bloom.
Bloom.
Martin?
I don't know. I'm going to say butterflies.
No. Although it's
Bloom of
appropriate because they're
butterflies.
pretty, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Bloom of. Bloom of. So like flowers bloom and blossom, don't they? So, so what's like that? I would have guessed butterflies as well. Bloom of. I don't know.
Oh, my son.
Yes, Alex.
Inspired.
Bloom.
I think it's going to be maybe some birds, but I don't know what. Doves.
Nope. Although,
I don't know.
okay. I'll give you a really big clue. So you wouldn't want to eat these, but there is a food in their name.
Okay, I see.
Yep.
I'm just thinking like chips.
By that same French
Yes,
excellence. It's fermented.
Is it like are they called sea cucumbers?
No, but that's a great guess. That's a
Oh,
great
yeah,
guess.
that's
a
good,
really
yeah.
good guess.
You wouldn't want to eat it,
No,
and
but there's food in its name. Yeah, that is not the
No,
correct
it ticks
answer.
the boxes.
I think you can actually eat those, but I think they're pretty disgusting.
Oh, is that right?
I imagine you can eat most things. You just wouldn't want
Well,
to.
If you try hard enough, you
they slimy.
can eat most things at least once.
Is that, I'm not
Well,
going to give you all
it's-
clues.
A sea cucumber's slimy.
All right.
I think so.
Yeah,
I'd imagine so. Most things in the sea are, aren't they?
Yeah.
that's true. I think I'm.
We got to
I
give
think
a
I'm
time.
yeah.
Okay. Another clue. One more clue.
Oh, it's okay.
These things sting.
Oh,
Yes, Martin.
it's a jellyfish.
It's jellyfish. Yes.
God's
yeah.
You know, I
Goodness
was thinking of starfish, and I was like, fish is a food, but then everything's fish in the sea. Like, there's so many fish in the sea.
I confess I hadn't thought about that. Yes, fish being part of the name of fish, but I'm glad you got jellyfish. So
Jellyfish.
4-1 to Martin,
goodness.
going into question 6.
This is terrible. This is going terribly.
So
It's going great. So far, we know it can turn around.
movies time.
Done too many of these.
Movies time.
Oh, here we go.
Which pop star
Oh.
won an Oscar for their performance in the film Moonstruck?
California champagne.
Yes,
Oh, my
Alex.
son.
Oh no, that's a different film. Moonstruck. No idea. Lady Gaga.
I was
No.
thinking Lady Gaga. Was the first one that my mind went to too. Which pop star? Oh,
Yeah.
Moonstruck. I haven't seen Moonstruck. I've never even heard of it.
Ah.
But I'm trying to think of famous pop stars that then went on to do acting. I mean, pop star. We thinking male? We thinking female? That's a good question. Which pop star? Oh, Moonstruck. No, they wouldn't have won one. No,
Who?
an Oscar.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Say it.
I won't say that.
Say it.
No,
Say
I'm
it.
not saying it.
Say it.
I think I know who you're going to say.
I was going to say Will Smith.
Okay. No.
Oh,
No
that
chance.
That wasn't
No.
who I was going to say.
I was thinking then I was Oscar. No chance.
Okay, I'll give you. Well, this is an 80s movie, so it's of that era.
Okay.
And
80s pop star.
it is a she.
I'm not good with 80s movies.
This is tough.
Or
This is tough.
or pop stars in general.
I'll give you both a clue.
Good.
She might wish she could turn back time.
Oh,
Oh,
I can't
Martin.
remember who did that. Who sang that song? No, Alex, you can buzz if you like, mate. I
It is a
buzzed badly.
California
Champagne.
champagne
Yes,
by
Alex?
Paul Masson.
Find a way.
I don't know. Is it Whitney Houston?
No.
No.
Who
I
sang
don't
that
know.
song? I don't know. I'm not going to think we're going to get
Okay, I'll give you another clue. Both of you are very generous people. You're not greedy. You like to something your food with others.
Oh,
This
fuck
It is.
is
goodness
California
sake.
champagne by
It's Cher.
It is Cher. Well done, Martin.
I didn't know that was Cher.
That was Cher,
Song.
yeah. And
be fair, I'm not a big-
Nicolas Cage was in it too as the romantic lead. So
You know that there are some songs that you just you know and you could probably sing half the lyrics, but you just don't know who they're by. I find
Yeah.
that, especially with pop songs, where you hear them on the radio
Oh, yeah.
or whatever.
oh yeah.
That's one of them.
Okay, question number 7. There's still a chance, Alex. There's still a chance.
What's the score? Is it 5-1?
I think it's 5-1. Yeah.
Okay. 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean,
You can do this.
Technically, yes, but it's all but gone.
Okay. Which classic 80s comedy was remade in 2016 with SNL actors Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones?
California champagne
Yes,
by Paul
Alex.
Masson.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Well done. 5-2,
Thank you.
going into
Okay.
question 8.
I've got the second point. That's all I care about.
Honor,
now.
salvage. True or false? Tzatziki is a Greek dip.
California champagne by Paul Masson.
Yes.
Go for it.
True.
Yes. That is, that is the correct answer.
Okay.
Okay, 5-3. He's
Very
gaining.
good.
He's gaining. Okay, tricky one here. This might be the clincher. Who is the only musician to have been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature? The only musician to have been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature.
For literature. Ooh.
California
Yeah.
champagne by Paul
Yes,
Masson.
Alex.
Is it John Lennon?
No.
Oh.
This person is still alive.
Oh. Well, you've given a clue.
I suppose I have. I feel like it's not the huge clue.
Literature.
Could have been anyone.
True.
Now it's
It's tough, isn't it? It's tough to know. Let's go.
Yes, Martin.
I don't know. Let's go for Yusuf Islam,
Oh, no.
also known as
Yeah.
Cat Stevens.
Yeah, knowledge, but no, not him. Although you're in the right era. Okay,
yeah.
I'll give
this
you another
is,
clue.
This is like the opposite of.
I'll give you a big
of
clue.
what?
A big,
Okay.
big clue.
Okay.
Right, this person might have described the results of this election, like any election, with the phrase, "The times they are a changing."
Oh, who's
Who sang that song?
Too many musicians in this quiz.
Yeah,
I'm not a
that's-
music
that's-
person.
Sorry about that, Alex. Sorry. Well, by this point, I thought maybe there'd be a more even distribution of points in the quiz.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Yeah.
The times
Oh, well, yes.
they
Oh, yeah.
are
Of course it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. It's Bob Dylan, isn't it?
It is Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
Yes, well
I had,
done.
I had a mind blank for a while there. Oh, thank goodness.
There you go.
I was embarrassing myself at the end there.
6-3 to Martin going into question 10. So
well done, Martin. I don't know if I can
thank
come
you.
back now.
I don't think you can, sadly. Sorry. But you'll be pleased to know it is the closest wins.
Okay.
No, as in I don't know if I can come back from the season.
Oh, I see.
I think this is it. I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, Martin
We'll
might have
see.
clinched, actually. He might have clinched the whole thing. Yeah.
I don't think that's not the case yet. I don't think.
We'll see.
We shall.
I think, no. But anyway, question 10.
Maybe
Okay.
if last week was
How much did the first ever item sold on eBay cost? Closest wins. In dollars. In
It's always
dollars.
been celebrated for its excellence.
Yes, Alan?
There is a
I'm going to go for $5.
Okay.
Now, would people have been enthusiastic and been like, "This is a new thing. Let's bid loads on something that's shit," or would it have been like a big ticket item where they're like, "Let's sell something really cool," or would it have been a scrap of paper to show that you can sell anything on eBay? What did you go for?
I went for $5.
$5 of one? No, no. Let's go for $17.26.
Specific. I like it.
Yeah, why not?
You are closer, Martin. It was $14.83.
Oh wow! So we're actually both pretty close.
Yeah, you're in the right
bad.
ballpark. But yeah, Martin
in the right ballpark.
was closer. And the item was a broken laser pointer, sold to a collector of broken laser pointers.
Madness.
Wow.
Madness.
So yeah, Martin wins the quiz and quite possibly the season. I think it's going to be hard for us to catch up to you
As
now.
I say, you've both got games in hand, so I think there's time. There's time.
We'll see. But well done, Martin. Yeah. No, totally justified. Absolutely outclassed me there.
Well, do you want to do a bonus question just for fun?
I thought that was the bonus
Sure.
question. Yeah, what is it?
No. Oh, yeah, it was for you, Martin. It wasn't for Alex. Okay.
I didn't mean it like that.
Bonus question for the gracious winner. How many video games are there in the Fast and Furious franchise? Closest list.
California champagne by
Yes, Alex.
How many video games are there?
Yeah.
1?
No.
I reckon they've produced loads. I reckon there's loads of like mobile and shitty ones on like the DS and stuff.
Okay.
I'm gonna go for 6.
Done it again. Martin is closer. It's 8.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's 8. The first, I think the
Well,
first
that's
game came out in
embarrassing.
2004, The Fast and the Furious, and then the second game came out like within a year, Too Fast, Too Furious. And now, of course, the latest game is Fast and Furious Crossroads.
I thought that was like their first foray into video games. How
Yeah, wasn't there like an open
Ignorant I am.
world racing game in the Fast and Furious franchise? I feel like I played a demo for that years ago.
One that reminded me of it a little bit was the Need for Speed Underground.
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
Need for Speed Underground 2, especially like street racing kind of. Yeah, that was a good game.
I'm going to get them all and I'm going to review them all.
You should actually. I would watch those videos, Alex. If you put them on Just Interesting, comment below. Would you like to see Alex's reviews of the Fast and Furious video games on Just Interesting?
I would love to see that. It'd be so
I would
good.
love to see those. Yeah.
No, that's a flimsy idea at best.
That's a fantastic idea. Well, as always, thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Please share your thoughts on the main topic about the COVID-19 vaccine that's just been announced, as well as your responses to the quiz and whether you think Martin is the signed, sealed, delivered victor in this season's quiz competition. And the winner,
Who knows?
you might win something.
Who knows?
Might actually get a prize this season. Ooh.
There is actually
okay.
a prize that we have in mind that's pretty amazing.
It is. I do know what it is too. So it won't be a surprise, but it will be a prize.
Hey.
If I win, it will be a prize for anyone else if they win.
Oh,
To be honest, Martin, as long as you can hold off Robin and stop him from winning this season, I'll take
Just
some
want a
comfort
different
in
winner.
that.
yeah,
Well,
it's
you've got
so
to- well,
tight
you-
this season.
To be fair, the next 2 episodes are going to have me as the quizmaster because you guys have missed out on a couple.
So
for various
really, I've
reasons.
got to stop Robin. From
You've got to stop
winning.
Robin winning. It's
Yeah, no
it's all
pressure,
on
Alex.
you.
I wouldn't hold your breath, Martin.
Well, before we ramble on forever, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.